You're not broke because you're lazy. You're not broke because you're stupid. You're broke because nobody ever showed you the boring part. The part that doesn't look good on Instagram. The part that has no highlight reel. The part where a 34-year-old man is sitting in a parking lot at 9 p.m., reading a municipal tax notice on his phone, eating a gas station sandwich, and genuinely smiling. That man built $4 million in net assets. Nobody saw it coming, including him. Here's what wealth looks like in your head. A penthouse. A watch that costs more than a car. A flight where they bring you warm nuts and call you by your last name. Here's what wealth actually looked like for me. A 2016 Hyundai Elantra with a cracked dashboard. A studio apartment in a city nobody glamorizes. A laptop with a sticky space bar. And a spreadsheet. God, so many spreadsheets. The first real money I made wasn't from crypto. Wasn't from stocks. Wasn't from some guru's $997 course that promised freedom in 30 days. It came from a pressure washer. A $400 used pressure washer I found on Facebook Marketplace that a guy was selling because his wife told him to clean out the garage. I drove 40 minutes to pick it up, loaded it in my trunk. Came home, watched YouTube videos for 3 hours, and the next Saturday morning I was on my neighbor's driveway, charging $80 to clean something most people forget even needs cleaning. First month, $640. You want to know what I felt? Embarrassed. Because my college friends were talking about their salaries, their titles, their LinkedIn promotions. And I was pressure washing driveways on weekends in old shoes. But here's what I also felt underneath the embarrassment. In control. For the first time in years. In control. Let me tell you about compound boredom. You know compound interest, the magical math thing everyone quotes but almost nobody actually uses because it requires patience, and patience is the rarest currency in the world right now. Compound boredom works the same way. It's the art of doing the unremarkable thing, consistently, quietly, without applause, until the unremarkable thing starts stacking. The pressure washing became a weekend business. The weekend business paid off a credit card. The credit card payoff freed up $280 a month. That $280 went into a HYSA, a high-yield savings account, until it became a down payment on a storage unit facility that a 68-year-old man named Richard wanted to sell because he was tired and his knees hurt. $58,000. Cash. Bought through a small business administration loan I spent 3 months learning how to qualify for. Richard thought he was selling me a headache. He was selling me a machine. Self-storage is possibly the least interesting business in America. People put things in boxes. They pay you to store the boxes. Sometimes they forget about the boxes. You auction the boxes. That's it. That's the whole business. Year 1, $2,200 a month net. Year 2, $3,800. Year 3, I bought a second one. No app, no algorithm, no followers, just boxes. There's something I want you to understand that took me years to actually believe. The quieter you are about building, the faster you build. Not because secrecy is virtuous, but because noise is expensive. The moment people know you're doing well, something shifts. You become a solution to their problems. Their failed business idea. Their family loan request. Their, I just need a few thousand to get started, conversation. I love my family. I love my friends. But I learned, the hard way, through a $25,000 mistake I will never talk about publicly in specifics, that money given to someone who isn't ready for it doesn't help them. It accelerates whatever they already are. If they're disciplined, they'll use it well. If they're not, and most people who desperately need money have underlying patterns that created the desperation, that money disappears. And the friendship gets a scar on it. So I stayed quiet. I drove the Elantra. I lived in the same apartment for 4 years after I could have moved. I wore a Casio watch that cost $29. Not because I was performing humility. Because I wasn't done yet. Invisibility is the most underrated competitive advantage on the planet. Nobody undercuts you when they don't know you exist. Nobody asks for a handout when they think you're just getting by. Nobody tries to talk you out of your next move when they don't know you're making one. I want to tell you about the day I passed $1 million in net assets. I was at a laundromat. Not one I owned, just one near my apartment. Waiting for a comforter to dry because my dryer was broken and I hadn't called the repair guy yet. Carol, my accountant, sent an email at 2:47 p.m. Quarterly reconciliation. I read it twice. Put my phone in my pocket. Watched the comforter spin. There was no confetti, no notification sound from some app. No one to call who would understand what it meant without it changing how they saw me. Just a spinning comforter. And a very strange feeling in my chest. Not pride. Not even happiness exactly. More like recognition. Like meeting someone after a long time and realizing they became exactly who you always knew they were going to be. That someone was me, at 27, working weekends, embarrassed, eating gas station sandwiches in parking lots, reading notices nobody reads, and choosing, over and over again, the boring path. The boring path worked. Here's the real syllabus. The one that doesn't exist in schools. Lesson 1, the best businesses are the ones nobody wants to talk about at dinner parties. Vending machines, ATMs, parking lots, coin laundries, storage units, car washes. Nobody glamorizes them. That's exactly why they work. Lesson 2, your first dollar of passive income will feel like nothing. Your 100th dollar will feel like everything. The gap between those 2 points is where most people quit. Lesson 3, boring assets compound. Boring habits compound. Boring consistency beats brilliant inconsistency every single time, in every single category, with no exceptions. Lesson 4, time is the only thing you cannot buy back. Not with $1 million. Not with 10. The 27-year-old who starts today beats the 35-year-old who starts perfectly, always. Lesson 5, the goal is not the number. The goal is the Tuesday morning. The corner booth. The coffee. The phone that buzzes with a deposit notification from something you built years ago and almost gave up on. The goal is that feeling, that quiet, private, deeply personal feeling, of knowing you chose the hard thing when it wasn't obvious yet. And it worked. Go find your boring thing. Build it slowly. Tell nobody. And one day, on some completely unremarkable afternoon, you'll get a notification that changes your life. And you'll put your phone in your pocket. And go back to what you were doing. That's the whole game. That's always been the whole game.